Welcome to Good Goodbyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. We are really glad you found us. In this podcast, me, Simon, a funeral director,
and me, Tina, I'm an independent celebrant.
we will discuss all things funeral in an informal space to demystify what happens when we say goodbye.
Based on your questions and queries, Si and myself are two industry professionals that are going to chat through the hows, whats and wherefores. We actively work in the funeral industry in Devon in the UK. So, we hope you enjoy the episode ahead. Welcome to Good Goodbyes.
Hello and welcome to Good Goodbyes with me, Si.
And me, Tina.
Today we are going to do a little bit of a review episode. So in my absence, Tina, in fact, rather than we, had two incredible episodes with Josie from Sobs and Alison from Peaks Dragons, two suicide bereavement charities. And the episodes are incredible. If you haven't listened to them, go and have a listen. They are thought-provoking, inspiring, just really, really special episodes. But we wanted to take a little bit of time as a funeral director and as a celebrant to talk about what suicide looks like from this side and a few little callbacks to those episodes as well.
That sounds a really good scene set. Thanks, Si. And I will put the links to those episodes in to the show notes of this one because they are, as Si says, absolutely brilliant. When somebody first comes in the office or makes contact with us, Si, and they are saying, I'm dealing with something unexpected here, someone's died by suicide, what are you thinking, like, initially in the way that you're going to support them?
So it's a great question. I think it's really important from my side to not treat anyone differently by the nature of the loss. You're obviously acutely aware that there's probably going to be some additional support required because this is so unexpected. When you've had someone who's been poorly for a little while, there's always that thing in the back of their mind that they're going to have to make this phone call. For the person that's calling the office for the first time, they never thought they'd have to do this. So you are very aware of that. But you still need to get the facts, set the scene almost, try and understand where the family are coming from, and then get them in the office, get them sat down in front of you with a cup of tea. This is not a phone call they want to be doing. Get the basics, get them off the phone and into the office. Set an appointment, because sat face to face with a cup of tea, with a bit of time, having got over that first hurdle is really, really important.
Yeah. I think all of those things, and I think face-to-face, I mean, most of our appointments are usually face-to-face, aren't they? Occasionally someone might be dealing with something from a distance and I might do a Zoom or an online call with them and try and pull things together that way. But going to people's homes and just being with them in their own space, I find really, really helpful at these times particularly. And I often will leave a bit more time. I usually leave a good block of time anyway to be with the family, but I imagine that this might take a little bit longer because there's so much raw emotion around death by suicide.
Absolutely. And I think, home visits are quite beneficial in this case, just because coming into a funeral director's office can make it very, very real as well. Nobody wants to walk into my office at the best of times, let's be honest. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to say. And in this instance, I think sometimes a home visit is a little bit more beneficial. Comfort of their own space. And I don't want to say suicide is younger people, but it is generally. So quite often this is the point where you're going to be dealing with parents.
Yeah.
We're going to be dealing with partners, but younger. There may be younger children involved if somebody younger has taken their life because they might be a parent to young children. And being at home in the safe space is not not a bad thing, actually,
Yeah.
for a better
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes as well, death by suicide comes after another loss. I've had this experience twice, once in my nursing career and once as a celebrant, when there'd been a loss. In the celebrant case, it was somebody's partner had died. It was expected and it was a long illness, but she had died. He struggled with it and everyone could see that struggle happening. And then there was death by suicide and it was him.
Yeah.
And so that family had to deal in a 3-month period with those two losses, one after the other. And yeah, and that was a very heightened emotional time for that whole family with all sorts of feelings running through that.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no way of softening it, I think, is the thing. I think you can. Some people say when someone's been suffering for so long, actually, it's a bit of a release, a little bit of a relief. That is very, very rarely the case with suicide. Very, very rarely. I mean, don't get me wrong. There have been occasions that I've looked after people who have committed suicide that they have struggled their whole life with mental health challenges or whatever it is, and the family actually say, well, hopefully they found some peace at last, which is a very hard thing to reconcile. It's really, it's not an easy thing to hear or understand, but you can see where they're coming from with it. But generally, this is something that is a huge shock, hugely painful to those that are left behind, because of just so many mixed emotions.
Yeah.
I think from the conversations with Alison and Josie, you touched really beautifully on the fact that the stages of grief that we go through with suicide, that anger comes in really early, which is often the way. That's often a bit of a later emotion in grief, but with suicide, it comes in hot. It's there straight away.
Yeah.
And I think that was touched on and is absolutely right.
Yeah.
So it can be very difficult to start planning a funeral when that emotion is front and center.
Yeah. And that disbelief and anger kind of runs through the conversation. It wouldn't be surprising to be with a family and you get them from the initial, we shouldn't even be sitting here doing this, Tina. And I go, yeah, you're right, but we are. There are some practical things to decide. Here's some of the practical things. And now let's talk about your person. So then they might start to be able to talk about the person. And if they're in their home, it's great because I can see reference points. I might see a photograph or something. And we start having that. And I say, oh, it looks like you traveled a lot with them. And they go, oh, yeah, we've had some great holidays. And they start talking about that. Then all of a sudden they go, which makes me think why the hell this has happened, because we were having a happy life. Yeah. So you're kind of looping always into this. How can I talk about the wonderful life? Because there were moments of, happiness and good memories when this has happened, and they loop and they loop. And as a professional, I would imagine you and I just keep holding that space, letting them loop, and then just keep trying to find things to talk about that celebrate the person's life.
Yeah, coming back to those positives, it is difficult because it's not the go-to reaction at that point. So yeah, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the services themselves, actually, that are sort of created from suicide, because I think there's a bit of a misconception that they are going to be really gloomy, dire occasions, because again, as we've said, you shouldn't be doing it, shouldn't be there. And I think one of the things I try with my families that are going through this is to draw them away from that thought and almost be a little bit stark with them. And we are. So now let's celebrate this person. That we can't change what's happened, how it's happened, why it's happened. But what we can do is create a space where you are truly celebrating the person and reflecting the person, not not the suicide, but the person. Because up until that very moment, there's a lot to celebrate. So let's not focus on the last 1 minute of their life. Let's focus on everything that came before.
And that really resonates with me, because I could be a bit, and I say to them sometimes, I'm going to put my strict pants on and I'm just going to get us into a headspace where we think we don't want to be a year from now regretting this service. We want to look back and think we had a great service where we were able to celebrate the life. So let's try and do that together, and I will help you. And I think, that is a good redirect, actually.
Yeah, and it's amazing how quickly actually the mentality can change a little bit when you, as a professional, do turn on the professional mode. There's all empathy, absolutely, and a very soft approach to a lot of it, because there has to be. But you still have to do this. And the best way for you to do that is in a positive way. If you are dragging yourself through the next few weeks of arranging this, and every single decision is made out of despair and anger, it's going to be so much harder for you. Let's try and focus on the life that came before, as if it were any other circumstance. Take the focus off the suicide. That was the last moment. It wasn't the life. And I think that's just the best I found the best way to approach it.
Yeah. And have you seen anything particularly that sticks in your mind that people did to celebrate somebody in this situation? A family who could get to a place of kind of finding an uplifting moment for themselves?
Yeah, one family that I looked after, he was a huge live music fan, and they made a real point in the service of reflecting on that and drawing back to that. And we actually had a kind of concert moment of everyone got their phones out, put their torches on during a piece of music, and did that sort of sway left to right with the torches on, which you imagine from kind of live music events. And fair play to the Celebrant for kind of speaking to them about that and getting that into the service, because it was a real moment of kind of joy. You could see the smiles on the congregation's faces sort of across the room of doing that, and it felt like it was a little bit mood changing. And everyone there kind of were drawn back to a happier time, a happier memory, maybe a gig they'd been to with them, or whatever it might be. But it did seem to really be quite pivotal.
Yeah. And I was once working with somebody in this situation, and the person had a real obsession about McDonald's.
Okay.
They had a particular order. I know other burgers are available, everybody, but they had a particular order that they would ask for, when the drive-through, whatever. And when we came to that, I said, we could just ask everyone to shout it out, because everyone will know what it is. So when we got to that, we were like, and the drive-through, as we all know here today, the drive-through burger order would be, and everyone shouted it, because it was exactly what she used to have. So that was really nice. So yeah, I think having a professional alongside it can just help you find those moments. That sounds really good.
Yeah. I mean, from your side, Tina, obviously having to write that script, having to write that story of that person's life, do you find it's harder to do because you've got less of a life to write about, or do you find it harder to write that part where we're coming towards the end because they may have been working, they may have had the children at home, life may have been very, very normal until it wasn't.
Yeah.
Is that harder to write?
I think in a way it is, as with other unexpected deaths. It's kind of like, those kind of very stark cut-off points. I tend to think along the lines of sometimes writing it biographically. So lots of people think a service should be, we were born, then we went to school, then this happened in our work life, then we were in our 40s, etc. But I tend to just park the biography and just think, let's just talk person, whole person, holistic. So that can be helpful because sometimes, especially if parents are there and they've lost a young person, it just feels like here's a chronology and now we've kind of slid off a cliff.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder of the childhood, of the young days, and then it leaves you with potentially more questions. So I do think about that format differently. And what I often think about is what's quite useful is perspectives. So I concentrate a bit more on Si as he knew this person, Tina as she knew this person as a colleague, the aspects of the person, the different ways that we knew them, because that comes out less sometimes in those kind of services. I think you have to work to find it. And you might, as you quite rightly say, have more colleagues in the room.
Yep.
Have more, definitely college age students potentially. How did they all know this person? So I want to see the service reflecting that back to the audience so they feel that connection. And you're quite right. The end point is you need to acknowledge. I think it's like a top and tail for me. You acknowledge at the beginning why we're here. This is unexpected and we feel uncomfortable about being here, but we are. Then do most of the service, the celebration of life, and that end point is along the lines of, whatever we all believe, let's believe that love exists even when the person isn't here, and see how love goes on, and do that more for the people who are there, if you know what I mean. Yeah, different things to think about. It's a good question.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a little bit more hand holding in the delivery, because I suppose for a lot of people it can be very pragmatic when somebody is older and has died and they know that they're going to go to the funeral, and it may be only the immediate family that really need that support. I think when you lose someone by suicide, everybody around them needs that support. I think it does. It sends a wave out that hits a little further than the immediate family, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's unfair to say. I'm not taking anything away from anyone's loss, but I do feel that because potentially that person is involved in a lot more people's lives day to day than, say, an 80, 90-year-old person might be. I do think it can hit.
I think that's a fair comment. There's lots more different language in this kind of situation. You would hear terms like tragic more often, whereas it's still sad, and we still feel in the other situations it's just it feels a bit more of a different layer. And that's what I liked about Josie's episode, is that she spoke about this idea of kind of like that rawness of the grief and the generalizable emotion, like a ripple in a pond. And even if we are going about our lives and we're watching some telly program and it's featured in that program, unexpectedly in a drama we're watching, even if we never experienced it, we still have a different kind of reaction, like a more visceral reaction. So I think that's quite fair. And what struck me about those two episodes as well is that they both talked a lot about language, which I think we can really help with that. We can help just talk about it, which a lot of people are hesitant to do. So we will talk about it with you if you're having this experience. And we have helpful language that we will help you with.
Yeah. I can't get over the Peaks Dragons, and Little Ears mute for 3 seconds. Exhausting and devastatingly shit.
Yeah.
Well, devastatingly and exhaustingly. But you're absolutely, it's right. And the episode was a really early kind of conversation with Alison about it. Why was that so important to say? Because it is. and there are certain times in our lives and certain times in how we go about our days that we try and soften things and we try and be polite about things. This isn't one of them.
No.
I think that language is necessary because it's absolutely right.
Yeah. And the other thing that both of them said that I thought, I'm glad that we're talking about this, is don't, if you're the friend, the colleague of this family who are having this experience, don't walk away from them because you do not know what to say. The two things they said that really stuck with me was use the name.
Yep.
I was sorry to hear about Tina. Use the name. And it's fine to say you don't know what to say.
Yep.
It's fine to say, I'll be racking my brains. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But
because how could you possibly?
Exactly. But I've been thinking of you. That'll do.
Yeah.
That'll do, you know?
Yeah.
But we're very like this, particularly in the UK, where we don't know what to say. So we think we're going to be clumsy. We're going to mess it up. So we don't say anything.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's worse. It really is. But it's one of the things that some of my clients I don't think they get frustrated with me with, but there's almost a little chuckle sometimes. Every single first question is, how are you? Because I'm acutely aware that very few people are probably asking that question because they don't want to know the answer.
Yeah, it's too complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't know what to do with the answer.
Exactly that.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, great episodes. Have a listen. And if you are around death by suicide, reach out to people who are experiencing that loss. Yeah.
The support is out there with charities and organisations that really, truly get it. These are people that have been through this, understand better than anyone could, and are there because they understand the need to be there. So lean on them, use them. And yeah, if you're having those thoughts as well, reach out anywhere. Reach out to Pete's Dragons if you're having those thoughts. They may be the after the fact charity, but it doesn't mean they can't help before. It doesn't mean they can't signpost. If you found this podcast because you've searched the word suicide, reach out to me, reach out to Tina, reach out to whoever. Don't suffer on your own.
There is no better way to end this podcast, Si. Thank you so much. And we'll see you all again soon.
Take care. You've been listening to Good Goobyes, the Funeral Facts podcast. Please do like, subscribe, comment and share. Drop any questions on our social media, on Instagram, or in the text option in the show notes.
Si and I are qualified professionals, but we always advise our clients to seek any additional support from medical practitioners if they need to. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay well and be kind to one another.